evening, everyone, and thank you for joining Candid Convo with Crystal. I am joined with some very fabulous and opinionated ladies, just some intelligence on the screen. So thank you very much. Chloe Johnson, Alicia Jackson, and Sonia, let the ladies speak. Yeah, tonight we are going to talk about the marriage-minded woman. And it's so funny because Sonia texted me earlier and she was like, "I'm not married. Is that okay?" And I said, "No, that's good," because I want the varying opinions. And you know how I do. But these ladies have never been on a panel with me, so I definitely want you to show them some love. I know Kimberly's coming in the chat, and there's going to be some other people coming in the chat later. But if you do come in later, just make sure you hit the like button and just hang out with us. And sometimes I might throw the ladies a curveball question, but you know how I do. So, Chloe, I know you've been watching Mavs this season, and we've all been watching it. So talk to me about, how did you did you prepare yourself after you met your man, your husband, which I thought he was so funny. When I said, let me watch this playback. This is so fun. So when you first met him and started dating him, did you prepare yourself in any way to take that leap, to jump that broom?
Before, like while we were dating, you mean?
Yes.
Or
Yes, while you were dating.
I can't say that I actually prepared myself.
Okay. Did you
I
start asking him like those questions, those qualifying questions?
So the thing is, right? My husband proposed to me the first year we started dating when I was pregnant.
Mhm.
And everything happened so fast for us. Like everything. We got pregnant, moved in together, got engaged our first year. So I think as my daughter started to get, once we had my daughter and things like that, it then is we went through a lot of different things in that time period overall. So we were like, up and down, off and on, going through a role, a bunch of emotions basically. And after I had my daughter, a couple of years in, we started getting back on the track of marriage. And I
Mhm.
think it was the simple fact that I was raised in a Christian household. So for me, being in the around my grandmother and my aunts and my mom, and they're like, "You're gonna be living with a man. You're not gonna get married. What are you doing? Blah 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 blah. Where's this going?" So then those conversations started coming up, even though we had already been engaged for a while, and then not engaged, and then engaged again. You know how
Right.
the process go. um, so I think that I wanted my daughter, and my husband at the time, boyfriend at the time, I wanted us to be a family. And I think it was more important for me to have the name, because I was always going to have him, right?
Mhm.
But I wanted to have the name so that when my daughter goes to the store, I mean, to school, and they're like Mrs. Johnson, I want to be Mrs. Johnson. I don't want to be, they call him Milan, Milan, Mrs. Johnson. Oh, Bay, I'm Bay, like I don't, it was more so for the name, because I was gonna be with my husband regardless.
Okay.
But I'm glad that he did decide to marry me. I'm glad that he did want to commit to me and spend the rest of his life with me.
Hmm. So actually that's a great lead in, because sometimes we as women, that was kind of one of my questions, but I really wanted to know sometimes, hey, the child comes first. I know I did. I know.
But I always wanted to be married. I never not
Right.
wanted to be married. I was that girl. I wanted to be married more so than I wanted to have kids. When I was, in school, I'm like, I'm gonna be married by 23. I want to be
Mm,
married by 23. Okay, I'm gonna have me a husband. I was that girl, like I'm gonna be cute wherever I go. You never know. I might meet my husband at the store. That was me. So I
right.
knew I wanted to be a
You
wife.
knew
I
it.
wanted to be someone's wife. Yeah.
So mentally you knew that, but you didn't know how to prepare yourself. You were just there. You were just like,
I was
listen,
just there.
I was just there. And then next thing you know,
And I
so
didn't know what a wife was supposed to look like. Who knows what that looks like? Like my mom was married and divorced to my father.
mhm.
She was in a long-term relationship, never got married, rejected the proposal like twice. My grandmother, my grandfather had passed away. My aunts were not married because they were so, religious, like the, it's harder for religious women to get married nowadays than it, was back in the day, because
Right.
you sustaining from sex, no shacking up, all that stuff. So I didn't know what that I was supposed to look at anyway.
That's actually one of my questions. So I appreciate that you said that. Do we need that model of a good marriage or a good relationship to know how to see what that even looks like before we prepare ourselves? But Alicia, first, before we get into that, so I know that you're married, and
Yes.
so before you got married and you met your man, you met your husband, did you start asking him them qualifying questions?
I did. I did.
What were they?
Well, like unlike Chloe, I was surrounded by a married woman.
Okay.
And then also the community I was around too, like we had women's seminars you know and unfortunately, in the church, specifically Black church, they prepare you for motherhood and wifehood, but they do not prepare you for womanhood. And
Mhm.
so, what was very, in my face was, be a mother, be a wife. Like that was in my face. So I was just like paying attention. Did I always, as a growing up, like those duties? No, but I saw what it took, and I wanted to be married. And so when I met my husband, I was just asking him really about what his goals were, and then also paying attention to like how intentional he was with me. That was like a very key identifier for me. Dating men can say one thing and then their actions will say another thing. And so he everything he said, he like backed it up and was like very, very intentional. And he wanted to make sure like nobody else could like come in and show him up. Like he was just very, very intentional. So that spoke to me. That let me know that really, if it was important to me, it was going to be important to him.
I
How
want to go to Chloe, and then I want to go to Sonia.
how do you mind if I ask, when did you get married? Like
Mhm.
how? Yeah.
So we got engaged 6 months after we started dating.
Okay.
That's
And then
exactly.
we got engaged 6 months after we started dating, and then we were married for we were dating after that for like 2 years. It's like a year and a half after we got engaged, and then we got married. Yeah, so we were
This is
two
so
years still.
interesting. First of all, y'all are giving me my questions, because I was going to ask how long of a time after you met your boyfriend or your mate did you get married? And you said 6 months you got married, or you got engaged 6 months after.
Engaged.
And then Chloe, you as well. He asked you to marry him within the first year.
Yeah, but I didn't. I've only been married for 3 years. I met my husband at 22. And so we literally grew up. I say grew up together because
Right, right.
that's that growing age, right? And so I didn't get married till like 27 and 28.
Okay. So did you do the same thing? And then I'm going to go to let the lady speak. Did you do the same thing and just kind of pay attention to how he moved?
My husband's a survivor. Okay. So I grew up on love, right? My husband grew up on survival skills.
Same.
And I said, whoever I get with, gonna have to be able to, that I know I will never have to worry. So no matter what any position we are in, I know I don't have to worry about it because he's gonna make a way out of no way. So
I
I used
love
that
that.
quality from the beginning, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
That's him. That's him.
Yeah.
Girl, that's very much me. I'm like, okay, does he have street skills though? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
So let the lady speak. I really want to ask you, what are those qualifying questions that we as women should be asking men if we want to be in a relationship? Because, and I have been on my panel, and they'll say the women, y'all are not asking the right questions. So what are the questions that we think that we need to be asking?
For one, I'm curious as to what they say the questions are.
Okay.
Okay, that's number one. But number two, I think it starts with you. So, number one, you need to know why you want to be married. Not
Mhm.
everyone wants to be married for the right reasons, right? Why do you want to be married? Why do you want partnership? What do you want your marriage to look like as far as you know? Because we know once you get into things, things change and
Mhm.
expectations change, right? So, you should also want to know what are their expectations around marriage. Who did they learn about marriage and relationships from? What do they value? What do they want from a wife? What is a wife to them? What is a husband to them? You need to get down to the thick of things. That's one of the reasons that mass drives me crazy, because they don't ask the good questions. They ask superficial questions and they stay on the surface. But what are your core values? How do you cope with things? How do you show love? How do you receive love? But I think for that is important. When we talk about being a provider, what does being a provider mean to you? Are you able to
Right.
do that? What's important? But you as a woman need to know what you need, who you are, and what you want
For
first,
yourself
for
first.
yourself first. I feel that way because me as a woman, I know I receive love as an individual, not even as a woman. As an individual, I receive love this way. If this person is incapable or not willing to love me in that matter, it would never work because I'll never feel loved. We were talking about the Jada and the Will situation where he threw the big party for her and she said, this was about your ego. And it was about his ego. And he admitted to it. She said, I wanted time alone with you. That was what was important to her. He wanted to make a display of the whole situation. You know what I mean? So everyone else can see what he was doing for his wife. So
Mhm.
I need somebody that can listen, so how do you guys communicate? Like what's your
Mhm.
best form of communication? I think those kind of questions are important um when pursuing a mate or a relationship in general.
So Alicia, you said that you asked him those qualifying questions. Remind what were give me four top qualifying questions that you asked him.
One, I wanted to know what his intentions were. What are your intentions with
What do you
me?
mean? Like, are you tension? Are we just having sex? Or are
Are
you
we
just to get married? Like,
well? Are
what
we?
do
What
you
is
mean?
this? Is this
Specific.
our you're engaged? You slid in my DMs. Okay, so what is what is your intention? What is your intention with
Okay.
me? And so my husband was where I was surrounded by marriage. My husband was not. He was not, but he
Mhm.
always wanted a family. He always wanted a family, and so that was his heart's desire, right? But yeah, what are your intentions with me? What does a family look like, right? So what does a family look like? What do you want our family to look like and function? How do you want it to function? And what role are you planning to play in this?
That is so important. That is so interesting because you came from a family, you saw a lot of married women around you,
Hmm.
but your husband didn't. And
Hmm.
I would want to know, what does family look like to you if you
Yeah.
don't know what that looks like? If
Hmm.
you don't know what that looks like yourself. So, and then Chloe, I want to ask you, you were just, because you said something earlier, I was happy he chose me. So I really want you
Hmm.
to dig deep on that. What do you mean by that? Because
Um,
we're going to get into another question. Okay.
when I say I was happy, I would say that I was happy that I didn't feel like I forced him.
Hmm.
That's what it is. Okay. Because although we had been engaged before, things happened, we got engaged again, and then like we just got married. I was happy that I didn't feel like I forced him because a lot of times, especially in the beginning of our relationship, um I was 23. Well, 20 met at 22, had a baby 23, all that stuff. So I guess like in the beginning, a lot of men feel like you're having a baby, you feel this is the right thing to do. And I think that caused a lot of turmoil eventually down the line, right? Until we finally like got it together, like really saw each other for who we were and not in that fantasy phase of like just, you know, getting together and then playing house. Like once the playing house settled in, and it was like, crap, we really here.
Right.
Like, wait, we doing this? Like how we end up
Hmm.
here from, just having a good old time to now having a whole family out of nowhere, you know? So I would say I just felt not felt like I forced him to gave him an ultimatum or made him say, "Oh, marry me. You need to
So
marry."
did you feel like because you were pregnant that he's got to marry you? You felt like we're just getting married because I'm pregnant, I'm having this baby, and
Well,
you're glad that you didn't. It wasn't
I wouldn't say that that's how I felt in the beginning.
that. Mm,
But as time will go on, you start to get those feelings like maybe this is what it is, you know? And a lot of men feel subjected to do that. Well, probably not as much now as many single moms we have, right? But a lot of men sometimes feel subjected to do that because they've been taught that that's the right thing to do. When you have a baby, you have a wife, you get a wife, you know, or a woman when you get pregnant by someone that needs to become your husband automatically. Like that's how people think. So I would just say I was happy that he did that on his own.
he was, yeah, that he was just as much in love with you as you were
Right.
in him, and that
And
it
it
was
wasn't
both of
anything
you.
else in between it. Like there was no factoring reasons as to why.
Right.
Because, at the time, yeah, it seemed like the right thing to do, right? She's pregnant, she's having my baby, everything's great, we're moving in together. Let me just propose to her. And like I said, and I tell my subscribers this all the time, at 23 and 23, like 23 and 24, we don't even know who we are. So
That part.
the stuff that I went through as trying to realize who I was, the stuff he went through trying to figure out who he is, and then trying to figure out who we are as together, and we don't even know who we are. That's a lot of back and forth, arguing, late nights, crying. It's a lot of stuff that goes in between that. So when to finally get to that point where it's like, I choose you now.
Mm-hmm.
After all of this, that's what it was.
And Sonia said something earlier that the person I am now is not going to be the person I am in 5-10 years, or the person you were at 22 is not the person you are at 28 and 38. And so you got to be happy with that, and that mate has got to be happy with that person and want to be able to learn to love, and grow with that person you're going to be. Chloe 2.0, Sonia 2.0, Chloe 2.0. So I'm going to ask Chloe, and then I'm going to go to, I'm going to ask Sonia, and then I'm going to go to Chloe. I'm going to go in reverse, and then I'm going to go to Alicia. But I'm going to ask about these traditional roles, y'all. So Sonia, how important do you think the traditional roles are in the household? The cooking, the cleaning, and the managing a household. And I'm going to actually turn it around on you as well, as far as men being a man and being that breadwinner, as well as the women being the ones to manage that household, the cook and the clean. So Sonia, you first. How important do you think those traditional roles are?
I think it depends on the people. I think it depends on what's important to them. I think it depends on, the people, basically. How do you want again, that's why it's important to know, how do you want your marriage to look? How do you want your relationship to look? So confession, I was engaged we got engaged at 22. We broke up at 23. He was very much a provider across the board. He took care of everything. I grew up with my grandparents who were married, who were part of the church, who every time I turned around, my grandmother will always say, you got to do this or you won't get a husband. So you need to know how to cook. You need to know how to clean. You need to know how to sew. You need to know how to pray. You need to know how to take care of the kids. And I did all of those things growing up, but I'm a rebellious spirit. And I just didn't understand. I just didn't want to get married. I'm like, I don't see the point of all of this unless I decide to have kids. But like I stated earlier, I didn't desire to have kids. I'm the oldest of 7. I'm the oldest granddaughter of, now it's like 80 something of us. But I come from a huge family. I've always been a mother. I've always been a caretaker since I was 7. I was cooking and cleaning. So I'm like, I don't want that life for myself. I'm trying to go travel and have a career. But getting back to my ex-fiance, he was a provider. He very much took care of home and things like that. And I stayed at home and I cooked. I didn't like that though. We had trouble when I said I wanted to go back to school. He didn't want me to go back to school. He wanted me to be at home. So what's important to you is what's important. I knew I wouldn't be able to live my life and stay in that marriage not being able to pursue a career. But that's what we signed up for, right? I signed up when we got engaged. I knew he wanted me to be a stay-at-home woman. He didn't even care if I had kids. He just wanted me at home. But I wouldn't be happy with that. That's not who I was. You know what I mean? And I was still figuring myself out, but I knew enough to know that wasn't going to work for me. So it depends on the people. But again, I'm going to always go back to you. Who are you and what's important to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That
some
is
people.
so interesting.
Yeah. That's what my grandmother said. We
You
broke up 2 weeks before the wedding. She was like, I took off work and you get
Oh my God, not 2 weeks before.
2
So you
weeks.
were really thinking about this. How am I
Yes,
going
I
to
had already.
It was on her way down the aisle.
I sure was.
Yeah,
We
just
were going
got her
downtown to
nails
get
done.
married. Yes. 2 weeks. 2 weeks before
That
wedding.
is so
I let
funny.
the lady who made my dress, I told her to keep it. She can do whatever she wanted to do with it.
Oh,
I mean, there
you
were other things that were happening, but it all started with I didn't want to be, I wanted to be a nurse. I had finally found out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a nurse. And he was like, I don't want you to be a nurse. I'm like, this is not going to work because I want to be a nurse. Like, I'm going to have a career. So what do you want?
I'm like, we're gonna come back to that, but 'cause yes, that is so he did. Okay. Chloe, you have stated so often. I'm gonna change the subject a little bit, but we're gonna come back to that. You stated so often. Listen, I don't cook.
Look, I know it's going. Me and my husband was talking about this the other day because I turned to him after watching Maps. I said, "Do you think I'm a good wife?" Right? I'm like, I'm just starting to question myself as a wife now. Like, do you think I'm a good wife? And he was like, and so then I said, see, God knew what he was doing when he made you. He was like, yeah, because when he made you, he was like, I forgot this, I forgot that, I forgot that. Dang, let me just make somebody else with all of this. And yeah, I think it is like you just have to find your match, right? Because we have to find someone that balances us out. So I don't prefer to cook. If I need to cook, I can cook. I don't prefer to cook it, and if I cook, it's gonna be in the oven. Like it goes in a pot in the oven. Turn it on, make some instant mac, and we out the door. Like we gonna eat. Trust me, we gonna eat. But I'm not about to chef it down. Now my husband, he cooks. Like he's like making the curry and he's making it from the scratch, like the mashed potatoes. Like no, I'm not doing all that. No, okay. But I think it is you have to find someone who balances out what your needs as well as your expectations are. Because if I was naturally a cooker or like, a chef, like my husband is, how would that, dynamic work out for us if we're fighting over the kitchen and the seasonings and everything and blah, 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 blah. So I let him stay in his lane. He let me stay in my lane, even as far as like, nurturing for our daughter and things like that. There's certain qualities that he have that I just didn't get naturally. And I sit there and I go, who made you? Like I often sometimes feel like some of the qualities that I'm missing, he literally has.
Okay.
And the balance between the both of us is what keeps it together.
Because that was going to be my question. Was that something that he had to adjust to? Did he have an issue with that beforehand? He knew because you guys were
No,
dating.
my husband came in pulling out all the
dishes
everything.
and
My
everything.
husband came in like, he came in being the perfect man. And I would say that was one of our downfalls in our relationships, and also one of the good things about our relationship. Because when I say that he was, rubbing my feet, pulling out the water and, with the bubbles and cooking and catering and giving and giving and giving to the point where I got so spoiled that I felt that I would deserve all of this. I don't need to do nothing. And then that became the switch in our marriage where it was like, you don't appreciate me. I'm doing all this for you. I'm doing all this for you. I'm doing all this for you. And you don't give to me. So I think that, that's something that we had to learn along the way, especially women, because we feel like we're entitled to a lot. And you're going to worship the ground that I walk on. And we also forget that they have feelings too.
Alicia, you're next, but I really want to go Chloe 1 second. So how did you navigate that when he said you don't appreciate me? Did you guys have to take the love language test and find out, like, or did you say, well,
So
what do
I
you want?
was,
What
it
do
didn't
you want?
happen overnight. And this is what I meant by saying like it was
Mhm.
years in between it, right? It didn't happen overnight because coming from a single mother who told me that a man is supposed to do all of this for you.
Okay.
A man is supposed to, worship the ground you walk on. He's supposed to spoil you. He's supposed to do all that. But coming from a single mother, she never told me what I was supposed to do in return. Like she never said, well, you're also supposed to do this and you're also supposed to do that. I just felt that that's how I knew, oh, that's gonna be my man because like he's everything.
Right.
And then I almost lost my man because he's everything.
Everything.
Like, you about to go, somebody else about to snatch him up, girl, you better watch out. But that took time, and it took more than just one conversation. It took more than one argument. It took more than one up and down, one back and forth. It took years to really figure out the difference between what he needed. Because my man is my husband's self-sufficient.
Mhm.
He doesn't need me for anything. Like when I say we really switch roles, no, like we really switch roles.
Okay. Mm. So it took time for him to, and honestly, that's that trust. That's that not just trust, but stick to itiveness. Say, I don't care if she's not that person. We're gonna figure this out together.
Right.
Okay. So Alicia, same question to you. How important was that traditional mindset, that those traditional roles? Because you said you had everybody around you that was married,
Man,
and you're
yes.
from that Christian background, so those been
Yes.
let's
Yes.
talk about it.
Yes. Yes. All of my training, all of all of
So,
the training that
yeah,
I
but we're
went through.
calling it training though. Like,
Yeah,
let's talk about that. Go ahead.
right, exactly. But yes, it felt like it, well, if we're at family dinner, my mom was like, okay, you see, like I make your dad's plate first, and then okay, so it's all this training, okay. But my husband was raised by his grandmother.
Okay.
And so his love is very much kind of like that. Like it's very nurturing. He loves to cook. He loves to bake. He loves all that. I also love to cook for people that I like. I don't like, like we're both foodies. So we both come from that like Southern kind of cooking. Right. And so we have that. I have the skill set, and we both do it. We both kind of alternate roles. For me, I was prepared. I was prepared to
Ooh.
like cook him everything, right? And cook. And he was like, "Babe, don't worry about me. I'm good. I'll feed myself." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Huh?" I was
Were you
like,
gonna be happy doing that though?
it was like a robot like crashed in my brain. It was like, what? Do not compute. What did you say? What? Huh? You said you gonna feed yourself. I don't know. I'm failing. I'm failing. If you feed yourself, I'm
That's
failing.
what I was going to
I
ask
was
you.
like,
Did you feel like that was that hurt you a little bit? Like, when
I
I'm
was
not sure what
like,
I'm doing.
we had many conversations about it. I was like, no, babe, you don't understand. Like, my mother said that, like, I have to, like, she cooked my dad's fried chicken because he loves fried chicken. So, like, I also have to cook every favorite meal that you like for you. He was like, you want to do that for me? I could feed myself. I've been feeding myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Hmm.
so he was like in his late 30s when we met. So he's like, I've been feeding myself. We're okay. Like,
Come
Mhm.
to grown man.
Right.
so it just took a minute for me to like adjust. Now some days he's like, oh, so you didn't cook? I'm like, don't do that because you already know.
So let me ask the question then, and we all watch the show. Do you think that now, because I've had relationships with men and they know how to cook. They'll do the cooking, but I have been raised with no, you fix his plate. I have been
Mm-hmm.
raised in that time, in that traditional mindset. But now men, it's almost like the younger they're getting, they've switched. They want that traditional woman. They want that. So, and what we're talking about, like the Mavs
Oh,
or the
Elijah Wan, is that what you're talking
yeah.
about?
So do you think that that's everyone? Do you think that all our black men out here really want that
Mm-mm.
traditional woman?
No.
I
No.
think it depends on how it was raised as well.
But I don't think so. Okay.
I
He wasn't.
one
He wasn't. So if even if a man has been not been raised to see that, that's not been modeled after him, like you, Alicia said, her husband did not have that model.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Alicia. Go ahead.
I'm looking at Elijah Wan's, and we don't know much, right? His mom isn't on camera, so we don't know much about their dynamic or anything. We just know that she was Irish, right? So she was Irish, and his father was African American. So I really feel like Elijah Wan is looking for someone to fulfill that mother like role. I don't have any evidence of that, but that's what I feel is happening. Like his mother took care of him, right? And so he's looking like this is what, and somewhere he Googled husband, and he was like, I'm supposed to do this, and he Googled wife, and he's like, and you supposed to do that, and so it's just like, dude, just whoo, okay.
That's what it sounds like.
Just like relax your expectations a little bit, because like I feel he also is as harsh and critical as he is being with Katina. I feel like that's also what's happening for him. And so like if you just relax these expectations and stop like testing her to validate your worth, like just kind of like whoo, that you guys can be able to meet each other, because Katina is definitely meeting him where he's at and his faults. Like she see that he can be a bit up escalating, and she's like, okay, well, I'll just wait till he calm down and then we'll talk about it. But he needs to meet her where she at. And so I'm glad that his mother did say though that if you can't cook, then you can't expect her to cook. So that we getting there.
Do you think that a lot of men, I'm going to say men and women, we get married or get in a relationship just because we think that it's going to change us. We're in hey, we're out in the streets, or we're doing what we want to do, and oh, but if I get married, this is going to change me.
It's
Go ahead, Alicia, then Sonia, then Chloe.
Sorry, I'm jumping in.
Oh, go ahead.
But no, but that's what that's what I've been seeing. Zach, Michael, Zach last season, Michael this season, Elijah Wan this season, both like, I want to get married. So let's do this. Let's do Married at First Sight. And I'm like, whoa. Okay. Is it like this, like the groom, like the tuxedo going to be like a like a costume, and then it's gonna change you? Is it gonna, you like what preparation stage did you go to, or did you talk to someone, to really prepare yourself for marriage? So I don't know. I won't generalize to say all men are doing that, but it's definitely seeing that with those three, especially Black men, who are just like, I'm going to get married, so I'm ready for marriage. Now I'm going to get married, and it's like,
and it's going to change me. It's going to change. Everything's going to change. I'm going
to. Like, I think we missed a step.
Yes, yeah. I think, and the reason why I asked the first question is about preparing yourself to walk down the aisle. That's why I started with that, because you have to, even if you get married tomorrow, but mentally, did you do that work to prepare yourself to meet that man? Even if whatever work you did, he didn't do that same work, but what work did we as women do? So that's why I asked that question. Because I think that I'm definitely ready to meet that man and have that relationship. But I'm still working. It's not just like, oh, I had a therapy, I'm done. No, it's not that. It's not that. So Sonia, do you think that a lot of men and women are just jumping into these relationships just to thinking that there's going to change them?
Yes, they think it's going to change them, that it's going to automatically be okay, that all the problems that they have will be fixed, that everything will flow perfectly. And I don't really understand why in this day and age there's still that thought process when you look at everything. Like I never, besides my grandparents, I didn't see a healthy, steady marriage. But people just like to say they have a body, and people just like titles. I have this title, I'm a wife. And some people want to feel like, I've been chosen, but they don't care who they've been chosen by. It's one thing when you like Chloe, you've been chosen by a good man. But when you've been chosen by someone and they just want to use you or abuse you, or, you're a rag doll to them, you're not of value to them, that's not a good thing. So yeah, there is that thought that if I just, someone else can make it better. Someone else can fix me, even the broken me. I'll be happy once I get someone, and that's just not true. Happiness is an inside job. So yeah, I think that is a great.
Excuse me. Do we know that? So we're just jumping into things, and we don't even know that happiness is an inside job. Go ahead, Chloe. Do you think that not just you at 22 and your circle, do they know that happiness is an inside job?
No.
No.
I'm gonna tell you that, and I didn't know that. It sounds like something you should know, right? But younger Chloe, because I'm 30, about to be 33, right, this year. Once again, right, transparency. I will always feel sad if I felt like I wasn't getting attention or affection from my husband, or even boyfriend, at the time, whatever we were, whenever I felt like that. And I will always bring it up, like, I don't feel like you do this, and I don't feel like you do that, and it ruined my whole life. Like, I would be in distraught, just sad, mopey, because I'm feeling like I'm supposed to be getting something from him.
Mm-hmm.
And he like, you need to do something with yourself. Like, you need to do something with yourself. And I'm just like, but no, because you don't do this and you don't do that and you don't do this. And he's like, why do I have to do why do we have to be joined to the hip like this all the time for you to feel loved? And then I lost sense of self. Sometimes when people get in relationships and things like that, you lose your sense of who you are. And so that's what I think when people go into these marriages, they feel like it's going to fix everything because now they're going to lose their sense of self into someone else and they're going to be molded into this one person, when that's not what it is. You literally have to be who you are, let that person be who they are, and come together. I was even talking to my subscribers a while ago. Like, when I started YouTube, I started because I was feeling depressed. I was feeling lonely to a certain extent. Like, I was missing something. And I would just be nagging him. And he's just like, what do you want to talk about, Chloe? It's just, you with the work, I with the work, we home, we sitting here talking. What do you want me? And I'm like, I just want you to hold me. He like, girl, you need a hobby. Well, I just want to hold, just come lay next to me, because I began to get real clingy, like, and I felt like my happiness was involved, like indulged in him. And it took me a while to even get to that space where it's like, I'm fine without you. I could go to the mall without you. I could go to the store without you. I don't need to be with you every day, all the time. And now I'm happy. Now I'm like, sometimes like, oh, he calling me again. I'm just trying to do my job. I'm working right now. What you want? As before, where I'm like, you ain't calling me. Why you ain't calling me yet? So, and it's also attractive to men when they know that you are secure, because I think at even one point it started to like just make him disconnect more, because I was becoming so dependent on him to make me happy instead of doing things that made me happy.
You just said a word right there. Go ahead, Sonia. You were going to speak on that. Go ahead, Sonia.
No, I'm just agreeing with Chloe 100%. You have to be an individual. Confidence is sexy, and when you come off really clingy, you don't appear confident, right? And then smothering. Me, myself, I don't like to be smothered. I have to go date myself. When I'm in a relationship, I still have to go to movies by myself. I still have to. When me and my ex was looking for a house, I was like, I got to have a room to myself because I need a place and space just for me. Don't bother me, And he would like follow me around the house. I'm like, no, you got to go and have a seat. Like,
it was me.
Right. He'll be watching. He'll be watching something on TV. I don't want to watch it. I'm not gonna argue. I get up and go to the next room. Here he come. Poop, why you leave the room? We got no, because I didn't want to watch. So it's important. Individuality is so important. Yes.
I totally agree with that. And that's actually how I've always been. I've never been the one to want to be right up under my man. And I've always wanted to, like, you go, it's so important that especially like having different hours of working hours, because when we come together, it's amazing. But when we look, you have your own thing, I got my own thing. If you are interested in, I like creativity and photography and all this stuff. You like something, go play football with the boys. I'm good with that, because then we can come together and be one. But sometimes, and we were talking about this before we went live, chat, because we were talking about, a lot of the show that Alicia and I were on. A lot of times people think, oh, well, if you get married, then that'll solve everything. And that's not true. That's not true. You're just going to get married. But to me, I didn't want any old man. I just didn't want just whoever. But I had a lot of friends growing up that I need a man. They would literally say, I need a man. So I'm like, well, so you don't know, this man could be an abuser. This man could be whoever. He could be a scammer. He could take all your money, but
Okay, Kenny.
right. He could be, but and you just because you need a man, but you don't care what you're getting. So that is, it's so important that we date ourselves and know ourselves beforehand. It's so important. So I actually, I want to start with Sonia on this. How can we as women navigate the balance between that being that independent woman and being submissive? If you want to change the word submissive to something else, go ahead. But that's the only word I could think of. But just like that submissive, because yeah, go ahead. If you want to change the word, but go ahead. We'll start with Sonia, and then I'm going to go to Alicia and go around.
I think submissive is okay. Let me tell you, submission is about trust. I'm gonna start there. Submission means I trust you enough to care for me, to protect me, to respect me. It's all about trust. Submission is not being a peasant to a man. And I think because people have used submission as a way to abuse women, there's this misconception, but submission is all about trust. Trust. You have great submission is me saying you have great leadership skills, and I trust your leadership skills, and I trust you as a man. You make great decision. You seek wise counsel. You know when to come to me. We can talk this thing out. We're partners in this, but you love me, respect me, and want to protect me enough. So there isn't anything wrong with that. But when you talk about being an independent woman versus being interdependent in a relationship, it is, for one, why do you want this partner? So you want this partner, don't take that away from them, right? Allow them to be that person that they are to you. Allow them to love you and to care for you. And you need to know why you want a partnership. People get into partnerships to say, I want to be myself and by myself. Why are you there? So what is it that a partner will bring to your life that's of value, and show that person that they're valuable, like cherish them, go ahead. And if you want to say submit, but cherish them, respect them, honor them for who they are in your life. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Have those kind of conversations, be transparent, be honest, but always be respectful. I think where a lot of relationships go wrong is people don't respect their partner. They don't even like their partner. You need to like them. You need to respect them. That's why you just can't go get with somebody, just anybody. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if I respect you as a man and as a human, I'm all for submission. Baby, I'm all for submission. I walk behind my man. I have a lot of traditional values in a relationship. I just like being by myself, right? But I will walk behind my man. Oh, yes. You get all of you see what's happening first. Let me be in my feminine so I can see what's going on behind you. Like, you didn't see that person that was looking at you sideways, but I saw that. My spirit felt them, right? But you're my protector, so you're gonna block everything as we're walking ahead. I'm okay with that. And I think people think so poorly of it, but submission is a beautiful thing. You just got to have the right one to submit to. So that's why it goes back to the points you ladies were making, to just don't let anybody choose you.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chloe, and then Alicia.
I don't think anything's wrong with submission. I don't like the word when it's used by men, because I feel like you shouldn't have to ask me, am I going to submit to you? And you shouldn't have to tell me that you want me to be submissive. You should do all the things that you need to do as a man, and I will just follow if you are leading. So when men bring up that word, it then becomes, to me, it sounds controlling. It sounds like you want to be dominant. It sounds like you are putting in place that I am going to be submissive to you. And I don't know what the heck you want me to be submissive to yet. Okay. So I feel like when you're in those relationships, when that word's brought up, to me, it's in a negative way, because my husband has never said, I want you to be submissive to me. He's just took the lead. He's going to lead. I'm going to follow. I trust that he has my best interest, my daughter's best interest, and he don't need to ask me and tell me I need to be submissive to him, because he's doing what he needs to do for us to follow. So that's what I have a problem when it comes to the word submissive. Now, independent and interdependent. I am an independent woman when I'm at work. When I'm at work, I want my independent pay. Okay, because I'm doing my independent work. But when I come home, I am feminine. I am woman. I am not taking out the trash. Now, if I'm at work, back in the day, if I had to take out the trash, I would have to take out the trash. I'm at work. But at home, absolutely not. My partner does that. Okay. I'm one of those, babe, can you open this for me?
Mm-hmm.
Babe, can you pass me that, please? I can't reach. I'm only 5 feet. I'm that woman. Okay. So yeah. I am a totally different Chloe outside of the Chloe that is home. And that will always be the balance. I can be a boss here, but I don't have to run my house, because I didn't get married to run my house. I didn't get married to be a man. If I wanted to do that, I would have just stayed single, period.
Alicia, what do you think is the how do we run that balance between independent and submissive?
I think there's space for both. I think there's space for both, right? Like, I think sometimes we feel like they clash, and you can be independent. Like, for me, independence means, like, you in a relationship, in a healthy relationship. Let me create the parameters. I think independence in a healthy relationship means that you allow me to bloom. You allow me to bloom. You allow me to flow. You allow me to go for achievements that I want to reach, to do creative things that I want to do in my spare time. Like, you allow me to bloom in whatever way that enhances our relationship, right? And then the awesome part is, because you're providing such a hedge of protection around me, I even feel more inclined and more safe to bloom, right? Because I know you got me. I know you have me. And so, like, submission, like Sonia was saying, trust. That's all it is, to trust, to know you got it. And I'll share a moment of transparency. I'm I call it quick start. So if I see a problem, I'm like, all right, let's do it, right? And my husband was like, can you just, can you give me like 2 sticks before you, like, I was like, my bad. So I had to
Lindsay. Okay, we
I was like, and
you just moving and not talking, you're just moving.
I was like, all right, let's he like, can you give me like 2 sticks? So I had to learn to say, okay, babe, this is what's on the table for today, and what are we going to do? And we talked together about it. And it's not him ruling over me. It's not any of that, but it's just, he's like, I want to be a part of the planning process. I want to also, because we have the balance, because I am a quick start, he is more methodical. And so having that balance helps me, because he, like, considers more things than I would have. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh, okay. So having that submission, that trust, helps me then to be able to even be more independent. It's like they both can exist.
So
And that,
go ahead, Sonia.
I'm sorry. That speaks to his leadership skills, right? That's one thing a great leader does. A leader helps nurture you, helps you grow, helps you become the best version of yourself, right? So that just means he has great leadership skills, and that's why it's so much easier for you to submit or trust him. And I think that's what's missing. A lot of these men who talk about submission have no idea what submission really is, and they can't lead. You're not a leader. The fact that you're even talking about it, like you said, Chloe,
Right.
I don't know a man who you don't. A masculine man isn't just gonna, a true masculine man isn't just gonna come and ask you about submission. He's gonna be the man that he is. He knows who he is. He knows where his power comes from, right? He knows what he can do for you and what he can add into your life. So he's just gonna do his thing, and you will naturally fall in line. But these men who are out here beating their chests, talking about I want a wife that's submissive, we already know exactly. We already know you don't know what you're doing, so you already messed up because you clearly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is so interesting you said that, Sonia, because I think that we look at submission differently than men look at submission. So, and on my previous, I had a men's panel actually last year, and we talked about the submissive woman. Men look at submission as respect. It's all respect, not both, as we've been talking about both. I said women look at submission as trust. I said, if I trust you, I will submit to you. It's trust. It's not respect. And it's respect how you talk to me. So we're looking at it two different ways. Go ahead, Chloe.
But that makes me wonder, even if a man says being submissive means respect me, you should be doing things that causes a woman to respect you. You still don't need to use the word. To get respect, you give respect. So if you have to tell me to respect you, what are you doing that's causing me to disrespect you is the question. See, that's the thing. Like every action has a reaction, right? So if I'm not respecting you, are you doing things that's making you unrespectable?
Right.
Or why do you think that because we're not immediately submitting that we don't respect you? You just because we are, because like Alicia said, because I'm a doer too. I'll just be doing, and that has nothing to do with me not respecting you. That's just might be just something that's how I move. And it might take me, like Chloe said, it might take me some time to just be like, and you might have to say something to me a couple of times, be like, okay, you need to do it this way.
Right. So, like, what does respect mean to them now? Now we need to figure out what respect mean at this point.
Right. It's truly.
Does respect mean do what I say? Like if I have a question, like if I have a question as your partner, and it's to say, okay, I know you're saying we should go left, but I'm concerned about if we go left, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. So
that's actually, the communication breakdown is the issue to me, because
we're talking two totally different languages. And this is why we can't meet together.
That whole
this is why the math is not math, and Chloe. But you know what? To me, trust is respect. Like I have to trust you to respect you. You know what I mean? I wouldn't respect someone I can't trust.
It goes hand in hand.
That's what I was like, what do they mean by respect? Like, what are you saying? Isn't that all like together?
To me, I thought it was the same. And as women, we thought it was the same thing.
What is that? Like not mouthing off? Respect. They don't want us to have
that's what I'm saying.
If a man speaks, then I need to learn how to not ask so many questions and not ask. And
this isn't the color purple.
That's why I'm like, what do you want? You want us to not give an opinion on something, to not speak on how we feel about something? Then does that mean we don't respect you now?
So does that mean that they're the last word, though? So if I don't ask, so if I ask questions and I can only ask 2 questions, so that's absolutely, we came to the conclusion that to men, submission doesn't mean dominance, it means respect. And I said, women, we just want to trust you. If I trust you, I'm going to submit. Yeah, I trust you to lead. You got me. If somebody breaks into this house, I'm not doing nothing. You got it.
But that comes with I'm gonna use an analogy in real life. I have no sense of direction, right? I put on my GPS to go around the corner. It's that bad. Okay. My husband, now he is like he photographic memory. He knows everything. Been there one time, know how to get there again, right? And we would get in the car and I would be like, putting on my GPS. He'd be like, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, no. And we'll be driving and he'll go a different way than what I know is the way in my mind. And I'm like, you sure? Like, I don't know. No. Let me just go the way I'm going. And he like, I'm trying to tell you where to go. And I'm like, but I know this seems wrong. You sure? I don't think that's the right way. And we end up arguing over going to one place because I know one way, he know another way, right? That would be the argument every time we got in the car. Till one day I was just like, you got it. I'm gonna just go the way.
Yeah.
And when I realized that we got there, I don't ask him no more questions. Which way he say turn, I'm turning. Whichever way he say make a left, I'm making a left. You turn, go. There's no toll that way? Okay. Like, with no hesitation and no question. But I think that just comes with trust. It is not like, it's not about not respecting you. It's just that you're so familiar with one way that it takes us a while to just be comfortable enough to try your way. But if you lead us in the right direction one time, we don't have no problem doing it again. Now, if you get us lost, baby, I'm turning my GPS.
Nope, you got lost last time. But I agree though, and it's so funny. If he had said, "Listen, I went I went this way last week, and this is a faster way to go," I'd be like, "Okay, whatever you say." Like, I'm just gonna. But I definitely, yeah, I've been in the car with my mother, and my father just wants to go that way, and she's like, "I know we're gonna get lost. We're gonna get lost," but she just doesn't say nothing, and they're lost. But I actually want to talk about these finances. I really, we've been watching something that's very interesting, and I go back to us as women not wanting to ask the pertinent questions. So we're watching something on Mavs, and I struggle to say, why are you beating around the bush? Why, just as a woman who wants, if we want this marriage and we want a relationship, you want the kids, and we want all of those things that cost a certain amount of money, are we going to ask the right questions? So I'm going to go to Alicia. I'm going to go around. So when you first got married, did you look at his job? Did you look at finances as a part of those qualifiers? Even if he didn't even know that you were looking at them, but you're just, like you said, you're watching how he moved.
It wasn't a qualifier. It was
Okay.
I was considering his employment and his work ethic and who he was and how he handled his finances. That is what I consider. I don't have a number, like you don't have to make $100,000 in order for me to consider you as a suitor, because I know what I bring to the table. I'm not trying to be the only one bringing anything to the table as well, though. So I want to see, okay, you also, that we can put our stuff in a pot and we can keep it moving. And so I think you're referring to knowing
how important, yes, but how important was work ethic? How important was work ethic?
Very, very important. Very important, because I cannot sit still. I would definitely be Noy. I cannot sit still. If I'm up moving and grooving and doing like 3 different things, and you're chilling with my dog in the bed, I would be like,
until you have some kids, you can be happy he at home with them kids.
well,
these kids cost a lot of money.
They do, and you're gonna need benefits. You're gonna need maternity care. You're gonna need paternity care. You're gonna need life insurance. You're gonna need a lot of things, health insurance for the children. So
did you look at that before you got married, or did you say, well, here, it'll be okay? What was no?
He was more concerned about that than I was, to be honest. He was more concerned about that than I was. He was like, I'm not going to put us in a situation where we're not coming together and we're not contributing. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I won't feel comfortable doing that. So he was more focused on it than I was. I saw who he was. I saw his character, and I was like, we're gonna be fine. But he was like, no.
Okay. No. Sonia, what do you think of that? What do you think of the work ethic and the financial aspect of a relationship?
I think it's very important. That's one of the biggest causes of divorce. You want to feel safe. It boils down to safety, and you don't feel safe if someone isn't financially stable, if they don't have a good relationship with money, if they don't have a good work ethic, if he's going to gamble y'all check away every month and then you fighting to keep the bills, the lights, and get the bills paid, that's a problem. That's a stressor. No one wants in a relationship. So I think finances, that conversation is important, but more importantly, what's your relationship with money? And what is your work ethic?
Sonia just be leading me in. I love it. So I was going to say financial transparency, because I feel like, we have these long discussions about, as when you first started dating, should you be that transparent? If you're qualifying this man or woman to, should I speak on it? Should I, she just should trust and assume that, that I've got the, okay, go ahead.
Absolutely not. I think if you're dating it depends on what your intentions are in this dating process. Are you dating for marriage? Or are you dating for a good time? Like
Right.
What are you dating for? And if
Right.
your intention is to date for marriage or for a long-term committed relationship, and if you plan on living with this person and combining your resources, you absolutely need to know what is going on with them financially, and not just how much money they make, because they can make a lot of money but spend a lot of money. So again, what is your relationship with money like, and how do you cope? And when you cope, are you spending your money on drugs, alcohol, women, clothes? Like, what's going on? I need to know all of that. We're gonna dig deep down into because it can be detrimental to your relationship,
Absolutely.
So no, that's important. It's important, especially if you're dating for marriage, or if you are dating, you plan on living with someone or something like that.
So Chloe, and this is a good question, was your husband and your money story
No.
Important in your relationship?
In the beginning, no, absolutely not. I was 22.
Because you had a child, though.
He was broke. Let me tell you. And this is why I feel like for 32-year-old, 33-year-old Chloe would be like, no way in the world I would have dated my husband back then, right? But he worked, I worked, right? We wasn't making that much money. We was young, right? We had kids, we moved out. We was paying like $750 in rent in this little old apartment, blah, 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 blah. But the one thing that me and my husband both had in common was that, and I know this, a lot of people may not agree with this, was this is our money. So we never did this is my money, this is your money, you're going to pay some of this, I'm going to pay some of this, you're going to pay this, I'm going to pay that. We never did that. We paid bills. We went where we wanted to go. If I wanted to go get my hair done, I went and got my hair done. If I wanted to get my nails done, he wanted to get a haircut. We just did what we wanted to do with the money that we had at our hands. It was never a half and half, or you pay all, I pay all. And I think that's one thing that has kept us together financially, is because we have a clear understanding that this is for us. We're not living separate lives. Like, I shouldn't have to go in, a separate account because I want to get my nails done today. And and I shouldn't have to say, oh, well, this is the half, my half for rent's right here, baby. You got your half this week? No, we don't work like that. And when financial transparency, right? So it becomes no power struggle with, I make this much, you make this much, we doing this. It goes to one house. The baby, our food, the necessities we want, if we want to hang out or whatever the case may be, we just have a mutual understanding that we're not about to go out and blow hundreds of dollars at the mall on a random Saturday. We do discuss money, I'm about to go do this. I'm about to go do that. Okay, cool. Whatever. So you can know, you're going to see a change in that account soon. But it's never been about oh, how much are you bringing to the table? Between me and him. But that's because, like I said, we grew in this together. So we started like this and we just kept it like this. And we don't argue about money. We don't fuss about money. We don't have to babe, can I have $60 to go and get my nails done? I leave the nail salon and I'm like, I just spent too much money on the nails. He was like, I don't want to hear you complain. It's already done. That's how we deal with it. So
Chloe,
I think that's a healthy balance for us.
What if your husband lost his job and had to become a house husband?
Okay, so when my daughter was about 3, we went through that. At the time, I had a more stable job. more stable job, benefits, everything. Like, and I'm still at that job now. So 12, 13 years later, I'm still at that job. And we didn't have a lot of help watching my daughter. So we had to make a decision how this was going to work. And he did that. And it was still never a problem about anything. There was never any questions about anything because once again, everything comes back to us. And when you start to go, I mean, this Chloe now, if I start dating again, say God forbid something happened, I gotta start dating. Oh no, you're not. I'm not going through that journey with you because you don't deserve that journey. You should already be where you need to be
Mm.
free. But I went through a journey with my husband, so I'm down for whatever when it comes to that man. Okay, and I know he's going to be down for whatever when it comes to me. But this is how I also learned that he's nurturing, he's caring, he cleans, he cooks, he does all this stuff, and he doesn't ask for anything in return. And he still does that and work. So, like, who won?
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, Alicia, I want to ask you the same question. What if your man, what if your husband lost his job and he had to become a house and he had to become the house husband? What if, would you come home and that house better be spick and span and clean the bathroom basin and clean behind the toilet?
No. That happened as well. My husband was laid off. I think it was like in 2018. And he held things down at home. He was more active, could pick up the kids from school and all that stuff. And I worked full time at that time, but then I transitioned to doing private practice. So that means we lost our benefits. So he was like, okay. So then he's like, I gotta jump in. And so he's working full time and going to school, and I'm working multiple jobs because I can't sit down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's happened. I think that's the for better or for worse, right? That's what that is. And we make it happen. We make it happen. I think for him it was a lot because it was a lot for his ego and his desire to provide.
Absolutely.
So he was battling himself more than me being mad about
and that's a different battle, ain't it?
Yes, because I feel so helpless. I can't help him to in that battle. That's something he's got to work out within himself. But he was definitely like, but it happens. It happens.
Can I interject a little bit?
Go ahead.
I also feel like that also may have molded me and my husband's relationship now. In that period, because when you want to also make a man still feel appreciated and like a man, I think that's when I developed those qualities of being more feminine, more babe, I want you to feel needed. I need you to do this. I need you to do that for me. I want this, that type of thing. And I think it kind of like molded where we are now, where we still have that dynamic.
Go back. So when he lost his job and you so do you feel like he was felt a little bit, or not a little bit? Did he feel emasculated?
Absolutely. What man wouldn't? What good man wouldn't when you have a wife? Well, at the time, a fiance and a 3-year-old daughter,
mm-hmm.
and your wife's working. What man in their right mind would not? Mm-hmm. Especially because it's not by choice. Well, it was by choice, but because of the choice that we had to make, and it had to be out of us. It didn't just happen. We had to discuss how this was going to work. So then that becomes a different dynamic. Like, Dad, I couldn't even be the one to say, I'm going to take this on.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you became a little bit more feminine, and I need you to do more of this. I need you to do more of that. So that's
when more of the balance started to settle in. Because when we both were on even playing fields, you're both like this. We're doing the same things now. But when it starts to unbalance and you still want your woman to feel like a woman, your man to feel like a man, you do those things to make them feel that way. And for men, you have to stroke their ego. Mm-hmm. And for women, you have to give us attention and affection. So that shaped the dynamic.
That's a great point. Sonia, go ahead.
And every partner wants to know that they have value, right? But I want to know that I'm still valuable to you. And if a man is tied up, if he feels like his value is in his finances and for some reason something happens, it's important to reassure him that you mean more to me than that, and vice versa, you know, we as women. So it's all about value as a person and as a partner. What do I mean to you? Because then they feel lost. It becomes a whole identity crisis too, but value is important.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Alicia, and I'm so glad Sonia, because that's actually what I was going to talk about was our value in our relationship. Do you feel like what you bring to the table, where is your value lie in that relationship and within that marriage? I'm going to go Sonia and then Chloe and then sorry, Alicia, Chloe and then Sonia.
You said, where does your value
Value
belong?
lie. Where do you think
What do I
your
think my
value
value?
is, yes, and is best in that relationship and in that marriage?
Hmm.
Your relationship, just when I say relationship, there's relationship with your husband, and then that marriage is different. You understand what I'm saying? That covenant of
Mm-hmm.
that marriage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my value is all of me, right? Like
Mhm.
for me, I can't separate the two. I know
Okay.
people, like, oh, well, you bring in money and you bring in this, and I'm like, I bring in marriage, you bring all of you, like everything. It's no a la carte. It is all of you. So I'm bringing my my knowledge. I'm bringing my heart. I'm bringing uh everything, my gifts, everything I'm bringing to make this work, because you're really giving your whole life. And so, I think a part of some of my strengths that really work in our relationship is definitely, even though I'm a quick start, I have a lot of patience in the area with my husband. That is just, and I think that's one of the things that he appreciates a lot about me. So I have a lot of patience with him because of how he loves me. So I have a lot of patience with him. And so I see myself in Katina a little bit because she has that same patience with Elijah, but me and Elijah wouldn't. Okay, but I have that patience. I think he definitely appreciates that, and able to, and then also, because I'm a therapist, able to, like, have a way that we can communicate. Not to
Mhm.
say that because I'm a therapist, I got it all together in my marriage. Not trying to imply that at all. But also saying, like, okay, babe, we're both, something's not happening. And
Right.
so able to use that, in navigating our hiccups when they happen. But, you know, being present at the same
I'm
time.
glad you said that your value is in all of you, because a lot of women think that their value is because they're bearing the children, because my value is because I'm a mother, and that's not. So that's
Oh,
why
I
that
didn't
was
even.
kind of a loaded question. So I'm gonna.
Yeah. I was like, really? Okay.
So I
I
told you sometimes I might throw some out there at you. So I do ask Chloe the same question, and then Sonia, where do you think our value lies as women in a relationship and in marriage? Go ahead, Chloe, and then y'all have two more questions, and then we can wrap up.
um, that's a good question. And it's really hard for me because y'all know I'm not traditional type. And I think it is just the fact that I am what he needs. I can't explain it. I can't say I am this, I am that, I am this, I am what he needs. Um, and whatever that looks like to him, because he knows what it is. I can't pinpoint it exactly because one day it could be just me, being present with him, and one day it could be me, supporting him, and one day it could be me encouraging him, lifting him up. Another day it could be even me, chastising him for doing something crazy. You never know. So I would just say that I am what he needs. That's where my value lies. And also the fact that I can that I gave him his daughter. He should be happy about that. Okay. I gave him his child, his one and only child. Okay. All right. He's trying to get another one out of this womb. So yes. So I would say, outside of that, but I think it's the value in That's why I don't like when people say, what do you bring to the table?
Right.
Because I could bring something to the table that you don't need. And is that beneficial to you? Absolutely not.
I agree. And it's so funny. What I bring to the table might be good for somebody else, may not be right for you. So like you just say, I am what he needs. And that I am for him and he is for me. Go ahead, Sonia. What do you think as women and our value lies in a relationship?
I'm going to piggyback off of what Chloe said, because that is true. Your partner determines what they feel you are, what's valuable, or the value you bring to their lives. So that's number one. But as a woman, so I'm big into feminine energy. If anybody knows my content and who we are, like our feminine energy is so powerful, and I think we underestimate it. But being a good listener is very important. I know there's this talk about a safe space, but a safe space is really a place where a man can come and be vulnerable and let his guard down, and that be okay. You're not judging him. You're not belittling him. You're not, trying to tear him down with it. You don't bring it up in an argument later, because you can fight fair. But it is really truly a place of peace for him, where he can be a human and he doesn't have to fight the battles of that he fights in the world. This is a place where I can be me. I think that is important. Just being that yin to the yang in general. There's a certain amount of nurturing. There's a certain amount of creativity. There's a certain amount of insight in that women bring. Period. Now a lot of women don't tap into it as much as they used to, because we've become so motivated by money and power and things like that. We become too strong and too independent in a lot of ways. And that can block your feminine energy, but if you allow yourself to operate out of that, it's the best gift you can actually give your male partner for his masculine energy. Because just like we become more feminine when he's more masculine, vice versa,
That's so great. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And I always, and the people that know my content, I talk about being an active listener. And when you're not just an active listener, you're paying attention to what Alicia says, like watching how he moves, watching his temperament. And we've been referencing Mavs a little bit, watching if you're just a bull in the china shop, you just be yelling for no reason, you just want to fight, and it's not helping nobody. Are you actually an active listener in this relationship? So that's important. I think that'll help him feel more calm and more wanting to trust and respect you as your partner in that relationship. So I want to ask a fun question. So how soon after you were dating your boyfriend Chloe did you meet his family? Did he meet his mother and his family?
I thought you was about to ask me something else, girl.
We can ask that too. We can say a little later, and we'll ask that.
Okay. I would. You know what? I don't really remember. Everything happened so fast with me and my husband. I promise you, it happened everything, like literally everything. Maybe.
Did you just was like told his mom I'm pregnant? Like what happened? Like did you?
No, I knew her. I knew her before. But this is what I'm saying about everything literally happened before. I met her before. I met my husband in March. I was pregnant in my daughter was born in June. So do the math. If I met him in March of 2011 and I had my daughter June 2012, like there was no time in between there. There was literally like 2 months in, we was like, okay, we're having a baby. But what I'm saying is, I don't really remember. I just know that I met her. I just met her. I met her partner. Well, her boyfriend. I met his sister. I met his family. So I met his brothers first because they lived together. It was 3 of them. So he was out on his own, like he was grown. Okay. And I was still living at home with my mom. And that's how I went to his house one day and never went back home. So what happened was, in the process of I told you I'm clingy. In the process of just clinging to him, he was like, I'm going to go see my mom. And I just went with him. And it just happened like that. So.
Chloe, what's your zodiac sign?
I'm a Virgo.
Are you a Virgo, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why
Okay.
you saying like that?
Because I could have sworn you was one of them water signs.
Oh no, I am a Virgo. Okay.
Only because you said you were clingy. Only
Oh,
because of the clingy part. That's all.
yeah, but I'm only clingy with my husband. I was never
Okay.
clingy ever,
Never
and
with
that's why it
anyone
was
else.
brand new to me.
Okay.
And that's why I probably end up depressing myself because
We
it
don't want to
was a
say
brand new
depressing.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And well, for me, I interesting. So my husband is a single father. And
Mhm.
so I was very cautious about when I met his children.
Mhm.
He was like, "Baby, you come over anytime. Just come on over." I was like, "Nope. We're not gonna do no pop-ins on your kids. If we're gonna meet, it's going to be planned."
Mhm.
But I think we did. I met the children like 2 months into us dating. I met the children and then his mom. I didn't meet her until maybe 5 or 6 months. I think it was almost around the time we got engaged that I met his mother.
Oh, he wasn't taking you home, so he knew for
No,
sure.
well, no,
Was the mom cool with you? Was the mom okay
no,
with you?
he was raised by his grandmother. So
Okay.
his
Oh,
grandmother I met very early on,
okay.
but his mom, they have a complicated relationship. So I met her like a little bit later, but
Mhm.
yeah, his man, yeah, I don't know.
So how was the grandmother with you though? They were okay? They
Yeah, she was okay. At first he was so nervous because she was, God rest her soul, she was she's very spirited, as older Black women can be, and protective of her grandbaby. But she was welcoming to me, and I love her little stubborn self.
So this actually says what I've been saying, that when a man knows, then he
Oh yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Mhm.
he's and there's no waiting around. I'm going to introduce you to, like, acclimate you
It just
into my.
happens. I mean, because her husband had a child, it was a little different, but
Mm-hmm.
it literally just happens. Like
Yeah.
there is, and I've dated, and like it was instant with me and my husband. Like it just was
Right.
even when I met his mom, it was like we were like family, and he's never had a real girlfriend. He always had like little flings or whatever. You
Right.
know how they do in their
Mm.
20s, they be out here in the street.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, so like I was like his first real girlfriend.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So she ain't never meet no others.
Right. That was it. That was it.
Uh-huh.
That was
Uh-huh.
it.
But I totally appreciate what you just said, that Alicia, that he wanted to acclimate you into his kid's life and meet
And
his
I was like,
parents. And this is what I've been saying about put a ring on it. I said, this man don't want you.
Can I
"Oh,
Because
you
ask
talking
you a
about Rick Ross,
question?
little
How did
doppelganger?
you feel about him being a single father? A lot of women get, disengaged when men have children. So I was wondering, how did you feel about that?
how
So it's ironically enough, I was speaking to a friend maybe a year before I met my husband. And I was like, you know what? The more I think about it, I don't really want to have children. If I meet a single dad with some kids, I'll be fine. I'll be just fine. Like I literally said that, and then met my husband like a year later. But yeah, I one the thought of
so
pushing out a child never was thrilling to me. It looked
Child.
painful. It looked life altering. I was like, but motherhood, I was down for. Like I wanted to, like, how can I do that without that
Mhm.
it's
that
so
9 months?
so okay, how old were your children? Were his children when you met them?
So they were teenagers, and then one was, I'm sorry, two were like in elementary age. So yeah,
Okay.
4, his
So
previous marriage.
so
Yeah.
the younger children had no problem. Did the younger children need some adjustment?
Mm, blending is complicated.
It is very
Blending is
complicated. I know.
complicated.
That's why I
Blending
asked
is
that
very
question.
complicated. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very complicated.
Mhm.
I don't want to overstep my children's
Right. Okay.
privacy, but
Okay.
it's very complicated. What I will say is that we are definitely much better place
Right.
than
Well, so I will tell you my
overstep.
story. My stepfather, I was 3 when my mother met my stepfather, and my youngest brother is 9 years older than me. So they
Mm-hmm.
so they had more of an issue with it than I did as a, but I was
Mm-hmm.
3. So yeah, that's why I asked the question. And
Yeah,
it's very complicated.
it
And
is.
yeah, and it wasn't even that they were, miss their biological father. It was just very complicated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
complicated. So
Yeah,
that's
it
why I asked that
is.
question. No, yeah, I won't overstep that, but I do understand where you're coming from on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that, a man, when he knows, he knows. And
Mhm.
so he will acclimate you, and he will be like, this is me, this
This
is
is.
my family, and that's it.
Mhm.
No
Mm-hmm.
adjusting, and no wishy-washiness on that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to the point that it'll surprise you, so it'll surprise us as women. We're like, okay, then he must really like me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, it scared the mess out of me because so the first day that we like started talking to each other, he was, yes, that part, that was also a thing that, just to speak to what Monique was saying, like, to see how he was as a father spoke so much to him as a person as well. Like, I
Mhm.
had further evidence like of
Mhm.
That
how
is
he
a great guy. Yeah.
cared for his children. But he was just very, very intentional. Like, he looked at me with in a look that was like, I'm serious about you, and it was like very unsettling. I'm like, okay. And it was just whoo, like,
Mhm.
he said, he offered me a key to his house. He said, you don't have to come if you don't want to. I just want you to know that nobody else is coming to my house, and you can come by anytime, just so you know I'm not, like, he was just very
Husband.
he was very intentional. It scared the mess out of me.
I and so and I want to okay, and I'm going to go to Sonia in a second, because sometimes because of that fear, sometimes because we as women aren't used to that will throw us off so much, or we've had a lot of bad experiences as
Mm,
women, especially when we get in our, we've had a lot of bad experiences, and yeah, I'm just gonna say bad experiences. And then when that good man comes along,
yeah.
we don't know how to we don't recognize him. Do you, Sonia? What do you think of that? Do you find that we don't know how to we as women don't recognize the good ones when they come along?
Sometimes we don't. Sometimes people just don't feel like they deserve it. So that's like where the healing and things like that needs to take place, because I don't deserve this good man. I don't deserve to be treated well. That's where that whole crazy conversation about I don't like good guys and things like that come from. Some people don't really feel like they deserve it, men and women. So that's where you need to be. You need to know that you deserve the best. You got to be in that headspace.
Go ahead, Chloe.
I
You
was
were gonna.
gonna say that you gotta pay attention to like why they do the things they do. And I say that because like she said her husband gave her the keys and he said, this is why I'm giving you the keys. I'm giving you the keys because I want you to feel secure. I want you to feel like you can come whenever you want. The door's always open for you, right? I dated a correction officer, and he was like, oh yeah, I just want you to be in my bed when I get home. See, there's a difference to like the intention behind why men do what they do. So
Mm.
yeah, it may seem like, oh, it was cute because like, oh, he gonna let me in his house, he let me in his house. But the wording was, I want you in my bed when I get home. Not I want you to feel comfortable and secure, or understand that this, and the other. So you can also just look in the wording. Men are very straightforward with what they want when they talk. They are not like being subliminal about absolutely nothing. Okay. If they say it, that's exactly what they mean when they say it. So you got to
Mhm.
take it for what it is, and don't that we like to make things seem more romantic than what it was. No, he literally told me what he wanted. Me in his bed when he got home.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
was it. So I think that, it happened. Like we just have to, figure out like, was this a good thing or was this not such a good thing.
I
And two,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Sonia.
And two, I want to add to add on to what Chloe was saying. That's very true, because also you can have somebody who's very manipulative, and narcissists love to love bomb you in that way. They love to rush the relationship along. They love to make you think that, you I want you to be my parents, I want you to be my kids, I want you, they'll push you through this relationship. So you do have to really, really pay attention to what they say, and really, really pay attention to the intentions behind their actions, because some guys are serious, like, yeah, I'm really trying to be with you. Some are trying to rush you through so they can drop that mask, and then you get to see the real them. So yeah, Chloe, I agree.
I really want to go back to what you just said, Sonia, about talking about that self-worth. And I'm going to go to Alicia, because we as women, do we know that we deserve that good man and that good marriage? I know that as an individual, yes, I do. But a lot of times we don't think that, like I was saying earlier, I just want a man. I don't want a good man. I'm not going to pay attention to those qualifiers that Sonia was just talking about. I just, oh, this man likes me. This man wants me in his bed when he gets home. Then, oh, that means he wants me. That's, oh, translation, he wants me. No, there's nothing to translate. He told you exactly what he wanted. Like, he was not, so he was very clear. But that doesn't mean that he's interested in me as a woman and me as a person. So we need to really know our self-worth before we get into that relationship and subsequently that marriage. So, and that, I do think that has to do with being marriage minded, because when we're happy with ourselves and we know our self-worth, then we can be that marriage minded. Go ahead, Alicia, and talk about that self-worth, and do we know that we're worth and we're deserving? Go ahead.
I think it takes time to get us there. You know, it's really important, right? We know the cliche, you can't love somebody until you love yourself, right? So that's period. And I think a part of that is knowing that you don't need someone in order to validate your worth. And that is the tricky part, because we oftentimes are very prone to surviving off of external validation, looking for a person or a relationship to validate you, and thinking, and also because singleness is weaponized, that you feel like you have to be married, and married means that you're valued because someone chose you, like all of these thoughts that are out there. And it's like, no, you have to truly know your worth, and get to know what you deserve, so that you can communicate effectively, so that you can speak and create boundaries, and healthy boundaries in your relationships. Like that's a part of, that's the fundamentals. That's the part that gets on my nerves with maths, because I feel like, okay, everybody's coming to get married at first sight. All right, so who loves themselves? And like, and tell me what you did to get there, and tell me what you feel this marriage is going to provide for you. Because if you feel like it's going to check some unchecked boxes within yourself, then then we need to talk about that, like, and really not just check boxes on a computer screen to get married. And that's what I feel. But I think that we have to get there. And if you haven't gone through that journey to get there, then that's going to be it's going to be a tug of war in a marriage. That's what you see with Lindsay. Lindsay is a great picture of somebody who is looking for someone's actions to validate her needs. Anytime Mark does anything, says, I didn't like the earrings. Oh, you don't love me. And then
Right.
so it's like every action that he
Ooh, child.
he
Look at
every action
me at
he does.
22.
Yes, she's just like, validate me, validate me, validate me. Because of the rejection from her parents, because her dad says being with her is like wrestling an alligator. Like that's not, doesn't sound like a good time. So she knows that she's a little rough around the edges, so she's looking and requiring that validation, and Marcus in the and caught in a catch-22 really is. So it's, you have to truly be able to validate your own worth to be able to navigate the rough waters
Right.
and the real waters of marriage.
Go ahead, Sonia, and I think you're about, because you always lead me in, but this state of arrested development, like you were talking about earlier, and Chloe just said that was me at 22, and I really do feel like some of these people are just they're stuck in whatever happened or didn't happen to them as a child, or whoever didn't validate them as a child. Now they want somebody to validate them. So I really do think that women, if we're wanting to get into that relationship and subsequently that marriage and have those children and have that family, as Chloe's been talking about, we need to, not be in a state of arrested development. Go ahead, Sonia.
No, I was just going to piggyback off of Alicia and say, having an anchor is important. And I do agree with you. When I say having an anchor, I mean an anchor within yourself, being grounded in who you are. And I find spiritually too. I think for me, I had a huge conflict with myself when I left the church. And I'm still a believer, but I left my church, my home church. And one of the things that really grounded me and anchored me was me knowing who created me, is what I like to say. So because my creator, he didn't make any mistakes when he made me, right? My creator made me. He knew my name before the beginnings of the earth. So what am I stressing about what everybody else wants and thinks? So then my prayer, my thought, my meditation became, I just want to be the best version. I want to be who you made me to be. So teach me how to do that now. I'm going to say, when you do that, when you pray that prayer, you got to be ready for the journey to go with that. It's quite a journey. But it anchors you. And when things are kind of chaotic, when those narratives in your head play out about anything, or what people think about you, who people say you are, you know who you are, you know who created you. So it's important to create an anchor within yourself, keep you grounded.
Go ahead, Chloe.
No, I totally agree. I know this is going to sound weird, right? But you don't really know. I didn't really know my self-worth until I had my first real heartbreak. Because I had to choose myself, right? And that's when I realized, like, this isn't about you. This is about what you put me through. Like, this is about me. I have to choose me. And also going back to that, the church, for me, it was more so of like just being in the church, not necessarily my church, this church, just going to the church because that's where I was raised. And I wanted to feel surrounded by what I would say was Jesus or God or whatever it was. I wanted to feel that love that I kind of strayed away from. And I think that's like one of those things that you always say, I know my worth until you test it. So that's why I say I think I learned it in my first real heartbreak, where it was like, I wanted to stay, but I know I can't because I deserve better. And that's when you go back and forth with yourself, because you're trying to figure out, like, why I know I deserve better, but something's telling me I should try it. Stay. Not, so I think that that's when most of us discover who we like, that we have to choose us. Our happiness is priority. As far as self-worth is, you can't talk to me any type of way. You can't treat me any type of way. You can't handle me any type of way. You don't get to approach me any type of way. You're going to handle me with care. I'm delicate. I am a flower. Okay. You don't get to just crush me in your hand. You're going to hold me lightly. And when you start to realize those things that usually come from, especially when you come to self-worth and relationships and marriage, that usually come from heartache, then you can develop to be that type of woman and teach your husband, your spouse, your partner, how they should handle you.
Right.
Right. I love that, because it's true that when you fall and you have to get back up and you have to figure it out, and you've been brokenhearted and you've cried it out, that's when that good man, or when that better thing comes along, and you have to clean out your closet from all the bad stuff to get to the right stuff. That's what I've always learned, that, clean out your closet, and sometimes it takes the crying to clean out your closet. Sometimes it does. Sometimes take to clean out our closet. Go ahead.
Let me say, Chris, I know, listen, My last serious relationship, we were together on and off for 6 years. And I really thought I was good. I tell the story all the time. I thought I was good, right? I had been in therapy for other things. I had done a lot of work for other things in my life. And those were big things, like very obvious things. So I thought I was good. And it was when that relationship ended. Because number one, I had to reconcile with myself was that I was addicted to a fight. I'm rebellious. I told you I'm a rebellious spirit, right? I stayed longer than I should have because it became the fight. No one broke me in my life, and you won't be the one to break me either. So it became a fight, and I was
Mhm.
addicted to the fight. So I had to learn that about myself. But I'll tell you this, when it was over, when he walked out that door, we split our ways. I said, I will never, ever, 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 ever go through this again. And I had to go on a totally different self discovery, a totally different healing process, a totally different. I had to tell all the truths that I never wanted to tell to myself and about my family and different kind of relationships and what that really meant. Because you don't want to betray the people that you feel was doing their best to love and protect you. But you have to tell the truth that some of those things that you
Yeah.
did hurt me, right?
Yeah.
Some of those
Absolutely.
things you did made me feel away.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come to that realization. I had to tell that truth. So I had to break myself all the way down and inside out
Mm-hmm.
to really discover who Sonya is and was as a whole woman, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. Heartache will make you really, really learn to value yourself more and get to know who you are more than
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Yeah, nothing will bring you clarity more than pain. Pain will help you clarify things. Pain
Yep.
will help you to know what really means, what's really important to you,
Mhm.
and what's really not.
Mhm.
It pain provides such clarity, and sometimes we work so hard to avoid it, but
We need it.
we need it in order to really know what our worth, and to know, okay, all right, like you said, I'm gonna do something different, and then the pain will teach you, okay, I was doing this because of that, and I need to address this. Like Sonia was saying, I need to have some real conversations with myself and with some other people, so that I can get on
Mhm.
some steady footing. Yeah.
Do you think we put up a suit of armor though when that happens? Then we, then because I know I've been brokenhearted and I get okay. So let me put the brick wall back up and so I don't even recognize. First
Absolutely.
time I wouldn't even recognize him if he did. If he showed up on my door and knocked and said, "Here I am. I'm a good man." I don't know because I was like, you know what? I've just been through it.
Yeah, we put up protectors for everything, right? But definitely in relationships. That's why we're so focused on red flags. We so focused on red flags. We don't
We
talk
point
about
them
green
out.
flags. We don't talk about green ones. We so focused on, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. I'm like, oh my god, y'all with these red flags. They just
Red
we're so focused
flag.
on it that we can't even see the person. Like, we can't even see the person. We just see, oh, that's a red flag. I'm like, okay, wait, just hold on. Just hold
Uh-uh.
on.
Don't doubt yourself with them red
Like,
flags.
hold on.
I
It's
just told you
just like, whoo, just hold on.
So
they there
Right.
for a
You
reason.
know
They
what?
have seen them before. If you notice them, you saw it before.
Of course,
Well,
of course.
okay. Okay. Go ahead, Sonia. Then I'm going to say, and then we got our last question. So go ahead, Sonia. Go ahead.
I was going to say we do, and we forget that people are human and have human experiences, and we forget that people are a sum of their experiences
Yes,
too, right? And we don't dig into that. Now, with the red flag thing, I feel like this: you need to know your non-negotiables to know if that's truly a red flag for you.
absolutely,
Okay, because some stuff be
absolutely.
stupid, like oh, he chew on the left side. I don't want to be like that's not a red flag. But it'd be little stuff like, his hairline is, that's a problem. He's only 5'6", like that. I mean, preferences, non-negotiables, like is this a safety issue? Does this go against your core values? Things like that. That's where we have to kind of look into a little more. But we do oftentimes forget like their red flag. But you're not ready to start dating
Right.
again. If Dr. Nicole said this last season, because I'm not watching this season, I put a ring on it.
Oh, girl.
It's
But she's
awful.
Dr. Nicole said if you have this armor on, no one can hurt you, but no one can love you either. So you got to be in a place where you're open to
Yes.
love. You got to be in that place and space.
You have to be in that place, but you can't be willing to just say, let anyone get in that space.
No.
No,
So,
you have to be
right.
yeah, proceed with caution for sure. Proceed with caution, but for sure. But if you are so guarded, and that is a turnoff. I don't think ladies really realize when a man is approaching you and you already got the look on your face like you don't really want to be bothered. Anything he says, what you mean by that? That's not appealing. That's not
It's not. You're right. You're
it's
absolutely right.
combative. I don't want to talk to you. What you so mad about?
Right.
Well,
So,
the reason I feel like the reason why we have those high protectors is that people don't trust themselves enough to open the door and let the person out and say let the doorknob hit you. We don't trust
Right.
that, so we build walls instead of building a door.
And we haven't forgiven ourselves for that past mistake. But it was a
Yes.
mistake. It's a lesson. Learn from it, grow from it, and move on. Don't hold yourself hostage for that.
Yes.
And Sonia, you just said that you're not watching this season's, and I'm trying not to do as many references to our shows, but I said in my live with Misha yesterday that this poor girl, when a man is sitting there telling you things like take a shower, or he's sitting there and saying just being rude for no reason, I said this is a beeline to abuse. And these is so many times as women were like, he just hit me out of nowhere. I don't know when the first hit came along. Yes, you do. There were red flags. There were things he said. There were things he did.
eat leftovers.
Yes, made you
Red
eat
flag.
the crumbs while he had fresh fish. There were things that happened in your daily situations, in your daily life, that were red flags that you knew in your mind. And we as women, we put up with a lot. And we've said that, yes, we as
It's how
women, especially Black women, we put up with a lot. But I want to say it's like specific things that we really need to trust ourselves. And Sonia just said, and Alicia just said, trust yourself and know that you know better and know that you know your self-worth. So there, I said this, when the first hit comes, you're not going to, because you're not going to, you're going to say, you're not going to know it, that these were red flags this whole time. So, and that's concerning to me, that it's on purpose when men try to break you down, or there's times when you know yourself, you know what you deserve, and we know what we deserve, but because we've put up with it for so long, we just think that we just can keep putting up with it. So.
And you know what, Crystal, some people come from abusive backgrounds and they feel like this is how love is, right? So they don't know the difference. And to those women, I always say, how does this make you feel? Because even if it looks normal to you, it doesn't make you feel good, right?
Absolutely.
So that's your intuition's way. That's your body's way of saying, this is not okay. So for anybody who's in those shoes, it may seem normal, but if it doesn't feel good, that's the indication that it's not right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last question, and I know the night is far spent, y'all. Yeah. So last question. Okay, and I'm gonna go to Chloe first. Are you raising your daughter, and will you raise your future children to be husbands and wives?
I'm raising my daughter to be a young woman, eventually a woman. And if she wants to be a wife and she asks me for that advice, I'll give it to her. If she doesn't, that's fine. But I'm just raising a woman eventually. And that's where it starts. Point blank and period. So whatever she decides to do in her womanhood is completely up to her. If she doesn't want to get married, she does want to get married. She doesn't want kids, she don't want kids. I'm here for whatever she needs me to give her.
Right.
The path is ultimately hers. I'm not raising her to be anything but who she wants to be. I can guide her, make sure, try to block her from some stuff, okay? But no, I mean, it's her life to live. So who am I to say I'm raising you to be a wife? Who knows she wants to be a wife? Like that might not be in her path. Who knows if she wants children? That might not be in her path. I'm not forcing anything on her. I want her to experience her life and choose what she wants out of it.
Sonia, kind of the same question. I know you said, I know you don't have children, but are we, should we be raised, being raised to be husbands and wives, or as young children? These young women mentors like yourself and myself that don't have children, should we be raising, or should we be mentoring young women to be husbands or to be wives?
I think we should be mentoring them to be good people and learning how to have good relationships and how to have healthy relationships.
Yes, that's it.
That's what we should do, because we can move on from there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you said, Chloe, husband and wife is relative.
It's relative.
Our roles may be different or what we want. I know husbands and wives that live in separate homes, so it's like, what do you want? But be a good person.
Same question to you, Alicia.
What Future said, I said, for me, I did, you do what you see. You do what you see. And so you have to be, and for me, I'm really more focused on my children loving themselves and having a voice and using their voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't be afraid. Like, I tell them, like, if I bring something to you and you don't like it, tell me. Don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. I'll be okay. Like, just say it. Like, it's okay, because that voice is going to carry you in any relationship. You're not gonna, be afraid to speak up or not advocate for yourself when something isn't feeling right for you. And so yeah, that's what I'm most concerned about. But you whatever you see, that's what you do. And so I do not hesitate to apologize if I mess up or anything like that, or because I know that will then help them not feel like they have to be perfect.
Right.
And I feel like they have to have these high expectations for themselves. So yeah, you the best example is to be the best example, and that doesn't mean being a husband or a wife. It just means being a good person.
I love.
By some standards, some people say you're not a good wife, but does my husband think that? By some standards, you may say, "Oh, you're not a good husband," but does his wife think that?
That's relative. That is absolutely, that's relative to that relationship.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate what Alicia just said about advocating for yourself, because sometimes we as women, we learn, especially if we grew up in a certain day and age, that we did not speak unless spoken to. We were to be docile and more quiet. And that's not how we should be. We should be able to speak up and have our voice. So, and y'all, it was very important that I asked the ladies this along the same lines of questioning that I asked the men a couple of weeks ago. So, and as you know, if you did see the men's panel, that there was a gentleman on there that he said he's raising his daughter to be a good wife. And he was the only guy, and the other gentleman said, that's not what I'm raising my daughter to be. I'm raising her to be a good person. So I was like, I want to make sure and ask these ladies along the same questions. And, we veered off, but that's okay. That's what we do. So, and I appreciate that. And I love that. So I wanted to get that out. We're probably going to have a part 2, y'all. We're going to have some fun. Yeah, because, I got more shows coming. Partner versus provider. Do we want a partner? A lot of women want that 50-50 split. A lot of women want a man that's going to be that provider and provide for him, provide for her wholeheartedly. So I'm going to be doing partner versus provider, money, attitudes, and relationships, and we'll just stick strictly on that money attitudes.
Let me get in that attitude one, baby. I got some stories to tell you.
Okay, good, because that's what let the ladies.
Y'all know I used to be great. Okay.
So that's going to be great, because that is going to be a let the ladies speak. That's going to be a ladies panel as well. And then we're going to be doing the communication breakdown. So those are the next 3 shows coming up. So the next 3 ladies panel coming up. Let's start. I'm going to go Chloe, and then Sonia, and then Alicia, and shout your channel out. And please let everybody know where they can find you.
Well, Chloe Johnson. You can find me on Chloe Johnson on YouTube. Yeah, come hang out with me over there. We We talk about a little bit of everything every now and then, but we do like TV shows, Married at First Sight, Put a Ring on It, Ready to Love, and whatever I feel like doing randomly whenever I feel like it. So yeah, come over there, check me out. And if you like the content, subscribe, okay, whatever, all that good stuff. That's it.
Go ahead, Sonia.
You can follow me on YouTube at Let the Lady Speak. I also have a podcast titled Let the Lady Speak, and I'm on all podcast platforms except for iHeartRadio. I haven't made it that big yet, but one day. And then for coaching is SoniaGaryCoaching.com, and I focus on life, love, dating, relationships, but mainly healing and self-love. That's my main focus because it starts with you. So check me out there.
Alicia?
Yes, I am on YouTube at Alicia Jackson LPC. I review really Married at First Sight. I was reviewing Ready to Love, but Ready to Love this season, I just I self-eliminated.
Not you. Y'all gotta stick through. Come on now, stick through.
Let me tell you why. I'll tell you why I
Married at
self-eliminated.
First Sight for all these seasons.
Yes,
y'all can stick through Ready to Love.
The reason why I don't do Ready to Love because I feel like these people and overall are really just seeking followers. I really feel like it just feels like a networking event to me, and that dating is already hard.
True.
And
that's the thing.
See,
it's a networking event like this.
How do you do your content for it? Is it based on relationships?
Yeah, in communication.
That's why.
So
see, for me, it's based on we going into the mess of it all, y'all. Let's go.
Right.
Well, I'm coming, from a therapeutic aspect of it. So
then I can understand.
So that's exactly. So it's just for me, I'm like, and even I was thinking about doing anything but love. Yes, that's what the show. Ready for Followers. That's Ready for Followers. And so but I do some hard, uncomfortable conversations on my channel. So just this weekend I did a panel on church hurt.
Right?
Yes, I did a panel on church hurt. So if you want to check that out, it's a little heavy. Also did a panel, I did with 2 therapists. We did a review of Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls. So that is also on my channel. So I do some stuff. I did review the movie Red, Turning Red, and also Encanto as well. So talk about family therapy and the different aspects of that. So that's the kind of stuff that's on my channel.
Y'all, I forgot one question.
She like one more.
Talking about these shows, it just reminded me, and then there's the last question. What do you think about a woman asking a man to marry her?
Ain't nobody doing that. I don't even know why you brought that up, Crystal. This is the wrong channel for that.
I literally watched 9 minutes of that show. I said, I'm not going to be. And
what show was this?
Marry Me
Now.
So these women are asking their significant others, their men, to marry them, and they got to get dressed. They got to get the dress. They got to get the family together, everything in 3 days, and on the guys that he's going to say yes.
She walks up to him in a wedding dress in the middle of the street and asks him to marry her, looking like a daggone fool.
Right.
No.
It's happening. And they got a female life coach, relationship expert, coaching them through this mess, looking crazy.
And I have followed her for years, and it's not her content. So I have to.
Is it a check? I don't know.
It's ghetto.
I think so.
But she's so she's a first lady. I mean, she was saying she's the first lady, and I said, a first lady of what? She's the first lady of a church. And I heard her husband.
They left the church though. I don't think they have a church anymore. I think they do some. I'm not sure, but because I haven't watched her in a couple of some years. But from my understanding, then they had left the church, and then they focused on their coaching business. But they still do sermons and things like that, So, I'm gonna be honest. This whole internet gives me major trust issues. It really taps into my trust issues.
Yes.
You just don't know who to believe anymore. and you just can't trust. You got to take everything with a grain of salt, and it's so problematic. Like, I started watching Ready to Love before I even got on YouTube, and I said, if I ever get a channel, I'm going to review this show. And I was reviewing the show because I thought it was a great example of what dating was really like. But now I agree, Alicia, it has turned into something so awful. And I have a problem with it. And I want to speak on Dante and Aisha, but I did the video. I just didn't edit it. I'm going to go ahead and edit it and put it out. But Lord.
Yeah.
I had some things I said about her too.
Yeah, I have a video that's in queue. Is there really pee in the dating pool? And I have to do it. I hate editing videos though, but I'm gonna get it out.
Yeah, no, we're gonna go. Yeah, everybody, ladies, stay right where you are. But we're gonna end the show. But Crystal just is gonna echo what Chloe just said. Ain't nobody here for that. I am and maybe that y'all let me know. Is that why I'm still single? Because I'm not gonna ask a married man to marry me. I'm not gonna.
No, that's
I
not.
will say this though. I asked my husband. I said, if I asked you to marry me, what would you do? And I had a wedding and everything planned out. He said, I'll just marry you. I was gonna marry you anyway, so I just marry you. It just made it easier for me. And I was like, yeah, but nobody wants to go. Like, I'm not subjecting myself to that, because if you're gonna marry me, you want to marry me, you're gonna ask me, you're gonna give me a ring, and we're gonna get married. I'm not about to go buy you a ring and propose to you in a wedding dress. That's desperate.
And I was told years ago that a woman decides if she wants to have sex. A man decides if he wants to be in a relationship. So he's the one making that decision. So
yes, women, we are relational beings. We are relational beings, and men, instinctively, not so much. So they have to choose. They're choosing to want to be in relation. If they are not, then it's just relations. Okay.
That man is going to end up resenting them and saying, you forced me into marriage. And then, my other issue with that is later down the line, these women will be talking about how I want this man to lead, but you've taken the lead.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Don't know what they want.
Yeah.
That's so
you've taken that option from him.
You've taken that option from him.
Exactly.
Yeah, stay where you are, ladies. Okay, everyone, good night. Thank you so much for joining. We're gonna have a part 2. We're gonna have a part 2 and a part 3.